Thank you, Corla. Minister, I asked this question because at the time when the renewable energy strategy was devised, wind was probably the easiest way to achieve the targets that are required under our EU commitments and for the 2020 targets and into the future as well. But technological developments in recent years have meant that biomass has become very attractive, and particularly conversion to energy generation from biomass. And I'm just asking if your department has considered reviewing the policy and refocusing the policy in terms of, while wind will always be there, but also focusing on the potential that biomass has to reach those targets.
Thank you. Minister.
Thanks, Deputy, for putting this question before the House. And I just want to confirm that we are very much looking at the biomass policy, and apart from a couple of final meetings between the Minister, myself and the Department, I would expect to be in a position to publish the strategy, I hope, by the end of this month. So I would expect also that consultation we are meeting obviously with people in the industry all the time, and we will be consulting with them about a body that they will be represented on to make comments on what will be produced at that time. So I answer in the affirmative, yes, we're very much looking at the increased contribution of biomass. And I just want to say that the Renewable Energy Directive published in 2009 did set a legally binding target of 16% of our energy from renewable sources by 2020. And we are committed to meeting 40% of electricity from renewable sources by that time. And that policy interventions are clearly designed to incentivise the market to deliver the necessary renewable generation capacity. The choice of technology is a commercial decision, but the renewable energy feed-in tariff or refit is the primary means through which electricity from renewable sources is supported in Ireland. To date, wind energy has proved to be the most commercial technology in the Irish market, and provisional figures for 2013 indicate that 16.4% of energy demand in the electricity sector was met from wind. Nevertheless, diversification of the generation portfolio will be important for creating a sustainable carbon-free electricity system, and Minister Abbott has published the Offshore Renewable Energy Development Plan early this year to establish the framework within which we can realise that potential. But biomass will continue to be used and is likely to have a significant role in the heat and transport sectors. And as I said earlier, we'll be publishing the strategy shortly, which will set out proposals to optimise the contribution that energy from biomass can make to our 2020 targets and beyond.
Thank you. Deputy Pringle.
Thank you, Minister. I'd like to thank you for your response, and I think it is positive that there is a strategy due to be published, and I look forward to seeing that come forward and what the proposals are in it. And I think it's very important that we do look at electricity generation from biomass in that strategy. There is, as you're probably aware, a project underway in Yorkshire at the moment to convert the largest coal-fired generating plant in Europe over to biomass at the moment, which is very feasible, very technologically feasible, and contributes hugely to reduction in carbon emissions. So I think we should be looking at an adventurous programme like that, and maybe even targeting money point for conversion to biomass, which would achieve our targets of 40% renewables practically overnight if that conversion took place. And I hope that the strategy will reflect that, and we'll look at how that can be implemented and should be implemented into the future. And there's also the huge potential there for the development of a supply chain for that biomass industry as well, and biomass power generation, particularly when you look at the amount of cut-out bog that Portnamona has, and rather than using it for wind turbines, could actually generate an indigenous industry and delivering biomass for the power generation and as an export product as well.
And can I say that, Deputy, that a recent report produced from Rethink Pilot stated that converting money point from coal to biomass would meet our targets of 40% without the need to upgrade the grid or for further wind development. And it argued basically that the conversion would cost 380 million, which is about 10% of the cost of upgrading the grid. The decision on the fuel type to be used will be a matter for the operator. There are, however, a number of wider issues that would demand further consideration and deliberation. And basically, the summary of it is that the amount of biomass needed to do that it would be 6.4 million tonnes on a continuous basis, and that such amount would not actually be available in Ireland, and most of it would have to be supplied through imports. and such large-scale levels of imports would raise considerations as to the environmental sustainability of such operations, transport and possibly land use issues. Any support for biomass at Money Point would require state aid approval, where tariffs similar to those for biomass under Refit 3 to apply. The cost to the PSO that the public service obligation would significantly exceed the cost of the 310 megawatts supported under the Refit 3 scheme without making any contribution to renewable heat targets. But as I said at the outset, and I repeat, that we'll have a better opportunity in a few weeks to fully debate all of these issues more fully.
Thanks, Minister. Just in relation to Money Point, and I think what's interesting is that the plant in Yorkshire has signed into contracts for delivery of biomass from New England and shipping that there and transporting it inland to the plant. Money Point is on the coast, so that you could ship biomass directly to the plant itself, which would be significantly less costly than what is happening in Yorkshire at the moment. And there is also the potential then to develop our own indigenous industry to supply that biomass and to look at developing export growth in that and providing indigenous jobs and which are totally sustainable and wouldn't have the effect of damaging local communities and the concerns that are there in relation to the development of industrial wind turbines. So I look forward to seeing the strategy come forward. I hope that you look at it and look at if Refit needs to be redesigned or we need to look at tweaking it in some way, or if we can, we need to start that work. And this is a way of achieving our targets without as much the amount of pain that has been evidenced across the country at the moment.
Minister.
I'm going to say that the issues that you raised there, while they're not in the briefing document I have in relation to the plant in the United Kingdom, I would be happy to get a briefing on that and to share that data with you and to assure you again that obviously the use of biomass and to increase the activities around that and indigenously in this island is the first thing we want to do. But I'd be happy to take on board the issues you've raised and to get a response at the official level to you, and when the plan is published to have a full and proper debate on all the issues.